everyone. We're going to be talking about that which has been hidden shall come to life and decoding the code. What does tonight's guest mean about that? We're going to talk about that and consciousness and awareness and what is the end result we are all looking for. I'm super excited. Just so you know, this is a live broadcast, so we will have questions, but we're taping this at a special time, not our normal Reawaken Your Brilliance time. So when I'm on my honeymoon, we will air this, so you can still be able to watch all our great shows. I'm super excited for tonight's guest, and we're going to get started. So in tonight's Reawaken You, I'm going to encourage you to stretch your mind. I first started having conversations regarding our topic about a year ago with my mentor, Lisa Transcendent Brown, who I want to give a shout out, referred Magenta Pixie to me. And at first it would really make my brain hurt, quite honestly. And I could kind of get it, but not quite. But as I continue to learn more and work with it and sit with things, it now makes much more sense. And I continue to grow and continue to learn, and my life has improved for the better. So if something maybe sounds a little strange to you, I want to encourage you, just be open. Because maybe it plants a seed now, and 3 or 4 months down the road, it all makes sense and all comes together in a way that you can understand. So that's what I want you to do over this next week. All right, we'll tell you about tonight's guest. Magenta Pixie was born in Stratfordshire and grew up in London. She was an early talker and reader, reading several Enid Blyton novels, living in the world of fairies, pixies, gnomes, and magic. Pixie had several imaginary friends whom she would speak with all the time. Unusual, esoteric, and supernatural events occurred throughout Pixie's marriage. Out-of-body experiences, visions, hearing voices, seeing people and beings, and knowing things before they happen. Pixie had no understanding of these experiences and was many times confused and afraid. It always seemed to her something was looking after her, and she quickly recovered from fearful situations and learned from them. Pixie started to communicate with her spirit guide, White Spirit Teachings. Teachings new to Pixie came from White Spirit, especially about quantum universes and timelines and different dimensions. Pixie and her brother were fast-tracked through experience and synchronicity, taking them on a journey that led them to discover there were changes occurring to the Earth, ascension, and extraterrestrial races that were here to help. The White Wing Collective Consciousness of Nine came into Pixie's reality in 2008 and told her, now is the time. We're in the middle of ascension. If you've found your way to Pixie's messages from White Wing Collective Consciousness of Nine, then you are part of all this and are here for a reason. Welcome, Pixie!
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for having me on your show.
We are super excited, so let's get started because we have lots of good stuff to talk about. The topic that I wanted to discuss with you after looking at your videos is that which has been hidden shall come to light and decoding the code. So what do you mean by that? What's been hidden and what's coming out today?
Okay, well, everything that sort of comes through me from these beings, if you like, that you mentioned, the White-Winged Collective Consciousness of Nine, is very much presented in metaphor. From that aspect, from that place, it's very difficult to bring forward words. So we sort of translate. So it comes through in metaphor. So there's levels to everything. So the metaphor of that which has been hidden shall come to light is metaphoric on many levels. On one level, it's global. There has been a deliberate hiding. There has been a deliberate hiding for a positive reason. There's been a deliberate hiding for a negative reason. There has been a hiding through choice. And then on an individual level, there is also different levels to hiding. So what I mean by that is on a deliberate level that's, say, positive. Those that have understood about the truths of our reality have felt, through one reason or another, that the masses of humanity are not ready to hear those truths, or perhaps they feel that they would do them a disservice if they told them those truths or delivered those truths. Those that have hidden in a negative, for a negative reason, have wanted to keep the truths for themselves and not let anyone else have those truths, as that's sort of like the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, if you like, and they haven't wanted to share. And on the level that we chose this is very much about being oneness, coming into separation, and remembering that we are oneness within separation. And from that level, we chose this experience. So we chose that which has been hidden shall come to light. Nothing has actually been hidden, as in gone. It's been there in plain sight for those who are ready to see it and feel it and decode it as a code, as metaphor. On an individual level, in the reality that we're born into, in this physical linear reality, we tend to hide things from ourselves because they are difficult for us to face. We also hide things from ourselves because we go through a deliberate amnesiac, forgetful kind of path so that we can forget who we are, so that we can then remember who we are. So lots of levels to that which has been hidden. And the reason why this is a topic now is because now is the time that this is coming to light on a global level and on an individual level.
Could you perhaps give us some concrete examples? You know, when I was first thinking about this and formulating questions, talking about what's hidden, you know, there's a big PRISM scandal that's going on in the U.S. because basically the government's spying on us, which shouldn't come as a shock. Are you talking about alien life forms that are here, or are you talking about things like, I know at this moment I'm in the 3D physical world, but I've started to see things that are probably what I would call fourth dimension, fifth dimension. Is that the type of thing you mean? Or am I off
yes.
base?
All of it. It happens on all the levels. So the PRISM thing is a 3D, that which has been hidden shall come to light. So you're talking about conspiracies, things that we haven't been told about, people that discover this and are blowing the whistle right now. This is all part of this time. So that's part of it. And then we've got the 4D and 5D realities. So the involvement of extraterrestrials with this planet and the whole disclosure movement, the situation with banking and money and all of that. It does go beyond this as well to very much our reality, why we're here, why we're born as humans, and what we're here to do. And it's about the process we go through to move into knowing and truth and enlightenment. When we move into that space, we take sovereignty. We don't need to be controlled by others because we have our own power. And this is all to do with the death process, the reincarnational line. So there's a whole range of levels to that which has been hidden. So all of those things, yes.
Oh, fantastic. Now I want to talk a little bit about extraterrestrial beings, star beings, aliens. If there's a term you prefer, please use that. But, for example, we went and saw Superman, which is actually an English actor, Henry Cavill. Great job. I think he's very handsome. But in the movie, you know, we're fighting them. Superman's a good guy. He's alien. But in so many movies, at least in American movies, there's this us versus them and aliens are evil. So can you talk a little bit about that? And maybe, you know, E.T.'s the last movie I can think of off the top of my head that really portrayed an alien in a loving, positive light. So can you share anything about that? Positive beings that are here, or if people are afraid of them, what would you say to them?
Well, first of all, regarding Superman, I haven't seen the new film. My son has. He says it's amazing. I have seen the original Superman and I've seen the remake, not this third remake. Yeah, I mean, again, many levels. We do have a level where there are extraterrestrial energies that have been attracted to this planet, because this planet is a place of richness. It's a place of mystery. It's a storehouse for a whole spectrum of frequencies, and other races have been drawn here because of their own agendas, and these races are positive, negative, neutral. So, you know, there's a whole host of stuff going on. But going up the levels somewhat to the light beings, they obviously are extraterrestrial as well, but they're not quite the same. These are more non-physical entities. So you've got some entities that are physical and are able to wink in and out of our reality. We can also view them as future beings coming back into the past, as well as beings from other planetary systems and galaxies coming to this one. But the light beings are more ascended. They've gone through this process. They're from a higher dimension, or further in the future, if you like. So we have involvement on many levels from all these different extraterrestrial beings or light beings. You can refer to any name, star beings. People who are afraid absolutely can understand why. There's all sorts of talk out there, and when you start researching this stuff, it can be pretty scary. What I would say to them is there's always more to uncover. There is always more to learn. No sooner do you uncover one level, that's not the end of the picture. There's another level. There's more to the story. And just like in a film, if you can control the outcome. So say you've got two films. For example, take Superman. And in one film, Superman is defeated and the baddies take over. You know, we don't really make films like that very often. But they can be made that way. Or you've got a film where the good guy wins, the bad guys are defeated. You can choose which film you want to live. You're not subject to life just happening to you. You are the center of your universe. You are finding your sovereignty. And when you do this, you can create the reality that you live in. You can create the experiences that you have. And you are master of that. That's the greatest thing that's been hidden. That's the truth that's been hidden from us. We feel that we're powerless. We feel that we're just part of some great big puzzle that we don't understand. So we just get on with our everyday life, go to work, earn money, come home, pay the bills. What's hidden from us is our own sovereignty and the fact that we are extraterrestrial. We are part of this planet, but we're also part of the entire galactic society. And we're family to these light beings, and we can choose where we want to place our family vocation or our family loyalty. We can choose to be with the light beings of positivity and love, and yes, they are there. So what I would say to anyone who's afraid is if you put out a plea or an asking, or if you don't really believe in asking beings outside of you, that's fine. You can put a plea or an asking into yourself. Or if you don't believe in talking to yourself, that's fine too. Just imagine something, create it, write yourself a letter. There are loads and loads and loads of ways to actually put out the thought. If the thought's done with a pure heart, it doesn't matter how you do it. It doesn't matter what you are asking yourself, something else. As long as the plea is done with a pure heart, and what I mean by that is that you genuinely want to know. So if you are in a state of fear because you've discovered all this stuff, then just sit there and say, or just find a thought within yourself that is saying, I would like to know more. I really would. No agenda, pure heart here. I would like to know more. And if there is anything out there, whether you believe it or not doesn't matter. If there's anything out there that's guiding me or protecting me or loving me and wants to show me a bigger picture, I'm open to it. I'm open to you. You can see it in a religious sense, a spiritual sense, a scientific sense. You can see it in an atheist sense. It doesn't matter. It's all the same energy, and it will come to you the minute you ask or the minute you create, or whatever word you want to use. So anyone who's afraid, that's not the only picture that you're looking at. There's another level and another level and another level. And when you expand to these levels and you find this whole puzzle has actually got sense. It's not some big random jigsaw that's been thrown together that you're nothing to do with. You are such an integral part of it. You created it. And then you can start to create it from here in this life as a human. So there is much to be joyful about, much to look forward to, there really is. But the fear is understandable, and in many ways, it's part of the journey to go through the fear as well. The difficulty here is if you get stuck in fear. Fear is useful if you can use it as a pathway to help you expand out of it into something more. If you're stuck there and you feel you can't do this on your own, then I can tell you now there are many, many, many people there to help you. You only have to look at the holistic healing community and the alternative community, and look at the life coaches, look at nutrition, look at thought field therapy, emotional freedom technique, Kundalini work, meditation, acupuncture, you name it. There are people there, and they're all aware of this in varying degrees. They're there to help you. So if you can't do it yourself, if you are in a state of fear, don't think that you're on your own with it. There will always be someone there, either in your vicinity or somewhere on the internet. They're there and they're available. The minute you ask for them, you'll find them.
And I want to, that, first of all, there's so many things that's so powerful. Think of what a different world we would live in. We all realize that we had the power, that we do have the power to control our lives. That would be just globally phenomenal. I talk a lot.
That's right. Yes, that's where we're going.
That's where we're going. So I want to ask about that. You know, I talk a lot about on my show, and you mentioned this just a little whiles ago about like going to work, coming home, paying bills. I call it sleepwalking through life. And I did that, unfortunately. You know, my attitude's better late than never. But I feel so many of us are sleepwalking through life. So if there is someone who, say, is in that sleepwalking moment, is everyone's consciousness going to start to raise? Is it going to shift? What about those people who, again, or, you know, I can respect, you're just struggling to pay the bills. Maybe you're a single mom out there trying to make sure your kids have food on the table. What are changes that will be happening to them? And, I mean, does this affect everyone?
It does, yes. The energy of this is everywhere. It's coming into everyone's reality, from the internet, from the television, from books, from films, from going to sleep in your dreams. It's there for everyone. It really depends on our receptivity to it. If we repeatedly are shown this energy and we dismiss because we're stuck, that energy is not going to stop. It's not going to go away and think, oh, this person's just not getting it off, we're off. It will always be there. So it's giving you the chance to find it. And that chance is there for everyone. But you've heard that saying, oh, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. That's kind of what it's like. You need to take that first sip of the water. And when you do, then it's a journey. And that's the whole beauty of it. It's the journey itself. My daughter is 21 years old. She knows what I do. She doesn't necessarily always listen to me or believe a lot of the things I say. But we did have a conversation a while ago, and she just started to say that exact same thing that you've just said. She said to me, it just doesn't seem right that, you know, you're born and you go to playgroup and then you go to school and then you get your exams and then you go to college and you get more exams, then you get a job and you work, you get married, you have a baby, and it's all done all over again. Surely there's got to be more than that. I mean, that can't be the reason we're here, surely. I said, absolutely. Where did that come from? You know, because I know you know the things that I see, but where did that come from? She said, I don't know. I just know it inside. So I'm just using my daughter as an example, and obviously she has had me around her as a trigger. But this is the sort of thing that's happening to everyone. Realizations. It could be something that's going on with their health. They go to the doctor, and it's not working. They try all the orthodox medicine, and it's not working. That's not to say doctors aren't good and that kind of medicine doesn't work. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that this particular path, as an example, may be what's happening with someone. So they start to take responsibility for their own health. Rather than delegating the responsibility of their health to someone else, things then start to change. Maybe they change their diet. Maybe they start using homeopathy or alternative medicine. Maybe they start meditating. It could simply be a film. It could be something like Superman. Somebody goes and watches it and comes out of the cinema and thinks, wow, something in there spoke to me. This is everywhere. It really is. So yes, it's there for everybody. But we are responsible for what we embrace and what we actually allow into our paradigm, into our belief system. We can keep shutting it off for the whole of our life. And if we do, then we will have another chance to come back. Eventually, every construct, every consciousness structure will make the raise. What's happening so wonderfully right now on our planet today is we are making that raise on a larger scale than we've ever done before, given the linear expression of the planet we know as Earth. So yes, this has happened many, many times before in many other realities and on many other planets and many other dimensions, but Earth that we know it right now, this is the first time it's been done this way. Individuals have woken up into enlightenment individually or in groups, but never have they done it on such a grand scale as they are now. So it's more there for everyone on this planet than it ever has been, because humanity itself contributes towards the availability of this energy. Every single person that wakes up, every single person that has a new thought, passes that to others. So, in answer to your question, yes, it is there for us all.
Can you maybe give some examples, and I'll share a few that have happened to me, when someone's opening up their awareness, increasing their consciousness. For example, I was walking in the rain the other day, and all of a sudden I looked at this tree, and it seemed brighter. It almost seemed like it wasn't even of this world. Or I'll be lying in bed at night, and this happens when I'm really exhausted. I saw something, maybe a star being, I don't know what it was, it like nothing I'd ever seen before, and I was like, oh, that's a creature just walking by, it's all good. You know, I wasn't freaked out or anything, but if someone's seeing strange things, is that part of it? If you can maybe give some examples. I guess I want people to not think they're crazy, that this is part of the process.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's two big, keys, if you like, nature and when we're falling asleep. So this can be done consciously. So we decide to embark on a conscious awakening. We've heard someone else talk about it. It hasn't happened to us. So we've thought, you know what? I want to do this myself. I want this conscious awakening. This person's talking about bliss and joy and sovereignty, creating their own reality and discovering mysteries and truths. So I want some of this. So that person starts to meditate, or whichever path they choose. So experiences will come that way because it's been consciously triggered. But this may also be unconscious, just like you're saying, walking in the forest, noticing a tree that looks brighter than the rest of the forest, falling asleep and feeling a presence there. So many, many different ways that this can be done. When it comes to, excuse me, when it comes to fear, that's kind of a necessary part, not necessary, but it does tend to be part of it. The reason for this is we haven't been taught this. We're not sat down as children and told, one day you will wake up and you will feel these things and it's all completely normal. We're living in this linear society where we believe that the most important things are jobs and work and money, and as we've discussed. So when these things start happening to us, it can be puzzling, but we can take it quite objectively and not be afraid. But sometimes we can be afraid. Sometimes we can be confused. So however it happens to you, it is easy for people to think they're going crazy. And in a way, I would say let that occur, because if you start to get into a place where you think, I'm going crazy, I don't know what I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is terrible, you are creating more of that, because the universe works in a magnetic way. So if you're in resistance to going crazy, you sort of tighten that frequency about you, and that can snowball. Let it go. Say to yourself, I feel like I'm going crazy, but hey, this is part of the journey. I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to relax into it. I'm going to just take it as part of my reality right now and explore these new thoughts that I'm having. So there are so many examples to give because it's happening on such a grand scale, and the energy is really everywhere. It's coming at us all over the internet. There are so many people like myself that are talking about the things I'm talking about, like you. Music is another one. It doesn't have to be a visual trigger or even a thought. It can be sound. A sound is the same thing. Sounds, visuals, they're all actually the same frequency coming in. So it can be music, and there will be quite a lot of people that may reject the religious, spiritual archetypes and all that, but are very responsive to music, to the point where they create their own music. And as they listen to the music, it creates an awareness within them. It creates a feeling that they don't necessarily even need to analyze or give words to. It can be done by substances, herbs and other things that can alter your consciousness. There really are so many ways into this awakening, and it's happened on some level to a huge amount of people on this planet. It's difficult to look at the amount of those people and see where the majority is, because on a third density level, it's actually a minority of people that this is happening to. But when you look at the dimensions in a multidimensional way, it's the majority that it's happening to, because everyone who awakens has a larger frequency about them. Everyone has an energy signature, which is unique. It's a frequency, an electromagnetic field. People know this as the aura. And this grows when you expand. It can grow for miles and miles as you expand. That's metaphoric, by the way. So those individuals send out a light, if you like. They send out a signal. But what really is happening here is that their frequency holds mass, meaning that they influence the overall reality more than those in third density, even though they're the majority individuals, because they grow. They're bigger in frequency, and one can look at that as perhaps the Akashic records. The Akashic records are within layers. The individuals that open up and expand and start to have these out-of-the-box thoughts and these experiences, they add to the Akashic records. They start to access them and they start to add to them. So those people become the majority. And when that happens, that creates the reality for humanity, not just for the individual, but for humanity. So when you hear all this about creating your own reality, law of attraction, the 9, my guidance call this law of magnetic attraction, and always emphasize the word magnetic because it's so important. You're not just doing it individually, you're doing it for humanity. And what does that mean? You're doing it for the earth. And if you're doing it for the Earth, which is a planetary body, you're doing it for the solar system, and you're doing it for the dimensions. So the individuals on this planet who are aware are steering the ship, if you like, if you see Earth as a ship. Those that are not aware might be in the majority, but they're not able to steer the ship because they're only on one level. So that's how it works.
Now, you'd mentioned sound earlier, and I wanted to ask you, we talked briefly about this before we started. One, when I first heard you, I fell asleep. Was with Lisa, and so I want you to tell everyone what you told me about what happens when I fall asleep. But your voice, I find almost otherworldly. It's very soothing to me. And so when you speak, are you doing an activation? Are you helping heal people?
Yes, depending on the situation. If I'm at home with my children and my family, and I'm just doing my normal day-to-day things, they probably wouldn't say that my voice was soothing or that I was activating them at all. And they actually laugh when I say that people say this. So me as Magenta in my everyday life, my voice is probably no different to anyone else's. But when I expand and open my fields, my electromagnetic frequency to blend with the 9, and one could also say when I move my brainwaves into a trance-like state or theta state, or whichever word you want to use, because it's all of those things, then the resonance of that higher frequency, that which is source, that which is divinity, that which is its own intelligence, that which is the Akashic records, the ascended masters, the angels, that which is beyond that which we know when we look at our subconscious mind, that resonance comes through my voice. And what's so interesting is I've been trained for this, and the reason why I'm mentioning this is because this is another part of this whole process, this mission. In our life, we do things, and maybe we don't know why we're doing them, or perhaps we're just really drawn to something, and we think we're doing it for a certain reason. And then when we do activate this knowing and we move into this memory and this expansion, we then look back and think, that's why I did that, and that's why I had to do this. So with me, I wanted to be an actress. I was born into a theatrical family. My father taught me singing and voice projection exercises from as young as 5, 6 years old. He would stand me at the bottom of the garden and say, project, and he would make me sing. He was an opera singer himself and an actor. And I then went into studying drama and speech and drama at the age of 9 and continued right through. So I did many voice exercises. Often I didn't want to go, and I thought, why am I out there speaking well? And I could be out playing with my friends, and all these different levels to it. But of course now I know why I went into that, why I was born into a theatrical family. It wasn't to be an actress, which is what I thought for many years. It was to do what I'm doing now. And all my training on a physical level has taught me how to use the resonance of my voice, not for projection because I'm on stage or for good speaking, but because of the healing. And it goes beyond healing. There are codes and keys and geometric frequencies of light, the language of light that is passed through energy. And one of the ways it's passed is through sound, so that when I speak, when I have that resonance of the 9, the words may be going in and you may be making sense of the words, but the resonance is an activation. The resonance is a trigger. It's like drumming. It's like chanting. The body responds to frequencies. And so those frequencies can be brought through the voice. This is why when I make my videos, sometimes I will emphasize a word and I will say now, and I'll know the 9 will show me to go deeper or to emphasize this word or to take my voice up lighter. And, I'm taught to use the voice, yes. And the reason why I'm telling you about my journey with drama is this is how it is with everyone. So if you've been off to do a course in something that you have no idea why you have to do it, but you just know you have to do a course in this or that, or you have to take this particular job. It might even be something that you really don't want to do. It could be a really simple job. And you have no idea why life has presented this job for you. You can't make sense of it. When you get to this place of having the memory come back, moving into the higher alignment, and moving into this place of that which is hidden shall come to light, and everything that entails, you will look back and think, I know now why I worked in the coffee shop. I had to learn how to make coffee because I needed to meet this person, or I had to learn how to serve, or I know why I had to do this job because, so that's how it works. If you are blueprinted to be part of the awakening and it's your mission, you will have been living it from day one. It's not something you just find when you're sort of enlightened. It's there from the start, and you're always being guided back to it from your own inner knowing, because you can feel when you're on your blueprint, you can feel when you're on your mission, or you could say you're being guided by angels or guided by the higher self. It's all the same thing. So this is what happens to all of us. That's why the individuals who are within third density are still having all these this bombardment of energy coming at them, because that higher energy is there for every single person. From that highest viewpoint of source, there's only one individual in incarnation. From their perspective, there's only one. There's only one third density individual. And what we are quantum versions of one another. All 7 billion of us are all one soul. From the higher perspective, this is one soul. Can you imagine if you were a higher being, you were a creator, a light being, a god, whatever word you want to call it, and you had one baby on the third dimension, even though it was split into 7 billion people, would you love one more than the other when you know it's only one? That's your baby, and you will love it. So that energy is there for every single one of us, and we all take the same journey. It's how we utilize the journey. Because we have to take responsibility, just as we're parents and we have babies. We love our babies, but we don't let them do whatever they want. We don't let them trash the house and sort of throw toys all over the place and pull the cat's tail. We have to come in and say, hey, boundaries here. So it's the same thing. We have to take responsibility, but we are loved. We are all loved equally. It might not seem that way to us when we're going through suffering, when we feel cut off, but that love is there equally for every single living and non-living consciousness structure, because everything is made of the same thing.
So what's the end result we're looking for here? If we're bringing all the darkness to light and this ascension, what's the end result? What are we trying to do?
Okay, well, that's a fantastic question. Ultimately, to concentrate on an end result is not necessarily helpful. It can do us a disservice because it's going against our free will to tell us what the end result is, if you like, because the journey is what's important. Because through the journey, there are a series of realizations. There are a series of moments when we go, aha, I know what that means now. When we have that moment, we have just undertaken an activation. Something has changed within our brain, within our DNA, within our cells, and those activations are it. That's what we're looking for. So it's the journey, really. However, one can talk about what the end result is on a third density level, or rather within a linear experience. And that third density result or linear experience is enlightenment, ascension, moving into the genius state and all that goes with it. So this is the perfect balance of dark and light, the perfect balance of male and female, the alchemy within. This brings us happiness, bliss, joy. It brings us unity with all things. It brings us the knowing that we are one with all things. It brings us full memory within a physical body without having to go through the death process to access full memory. We can have full memory and still be aware and alive in this body that we're in now, which is just a wonderful process to go through. We can access abundance. There are byproducts of this whole journey. These are not ones that are particularly available, in inverted commas, on a huge level at the moment. They are available in a very minor way right now, because there's a process to go through to get there, and the minute you see them as an end product, you block yourself from getting them. So don't ever see these things as an end product, because they're very seductive, but they are byproducts of this journey, and that's invisibility, bilocation, trilocation, multilocation, breathing underwater, not needing to eat food, teleportation, taking our place as a galactic society with other races, and actually communicating with those other races. But really, I guess the end result is globally joy, bliss, happiness, health, harmony, freedom, choice, the power of individual creation, being able to create our own reality, rather than perceiving reality as happening to us through random choice, actually realizing it's ordered and that we're in the driving seat. Sovereignty, alchemy, turning lead into gold, inner alchemy. So these are the end results. I guess bliss and happiness really has to be number one.
Can you talk now, you mentioned briefly, and I want to get more into this, what are the codes within us? You mentioned how when it's time they'll be activated, so maybe you could give us examples of how they're triggered. But I think if I remember correctly, and we have X amount of DNA strands in us now, according to science, but if I'm understanding correctly, there are much more that are being activated. So can you talk about that?
Yes, I mean, according to the scientific model, and don't quote me on this because I'm not that up on science really, but I believe that according to the scientific model, we have 2 strands of DNA, a double helix, and that's it really. This shows us our genetic predisposition to different things and health and what we look like. And then there's this huge amount of DNA that's junk and scientists haven't really discovered what it is. That junk is what I'm talking about. That junk bit is the codes within us. And if we were to actually give that some kind of formulation within a DNA strand, it's quite difficult because it's quantum. Some people say 12 strands. From one perspective, that's true. Some people say 24 strands. From another perspective, that's true. Others say 144 strands. That's probably more true, but they're all true because we are looking at a multidimensional reality here, and I'm not one for maths, I have to say, so I quote what I get here from the 9. So this is where the codes are, if you like, within that junk DNA, and junk is just the last thing that it is. However, what is that DNA? Because it's inside our bodies. So how can codes be outside of us if the codes are in our bodies? Well, this is where it's so interesting, because that DNA isn't just inside our body, it's outside of our body as well. It's in the auric field outside of us, and it's within the subconscious mind, which then connects to the subconscious minds of all others. It connects to the planetary grid, the Akashic records, source. So that junk DNA isn't in one place. There is no place. So it's difficult to fully explain what those codes are, because they do need to be discovered individually. As I said before, the higher energies would be doing us a disservice if they told us what these codes were, because really we're here to live a cosmic treasure hunt. And it's important we take part, because when we discover the treasure, we're going to go, wow, this is amazing. Oh, goodness me. That's an activation. The realization is the activation. So if someone were to say to you, these are the codes, and you don't quite maybe get it, or you might get it intellectually, You haven't had the realization. And the realization doesn't come from explaining in words. It comes within you from sound, from music, from metaphor, from archetype, from color, from light. This is the reason why extraterrestrial beings of light and light beings don't materialize in front of us. You know, on television, how many times have you seen shows where, I watched a show only the other day where the producer said to this psychic, well, if you're in touch with extraterrestrials, why don't they materialize in front of us right now? And then the fact that they don't tells everyone watching, oh, there's no such thing, because if there was, they would materialize in front of us. Well, of course, this isn't correct. If it's true light beings following absolute alignment and truth, they would do us a disservice. It's about our discovery and our knowing that we are part of a galactic society without needing the proof, because we don't need that proof when we let go of the need for proof. We move into surrender and humility. We don't need solid, tangible proof. So what the light beings can do, they can't tell us exactly what the codes are. They can draw us into situations where we're triggered. And that, I suppose, is clues. So we're on a cosmic treasure hunt and we're given clues. Or rather, we could call that guidance, which is why so many people refer to them as guides, because that's what they are. So the clues are the formation of DNA when fully activated. How does DNA communicate with us? How does it blend with us? It does that through the subconscious mind, which is the DNA. It's communicated through metaphor, through archetype, through symbolism. And codes present in different ways to each conduit, to each receiver. So some person might be speaking to an ascended master, and another person might say, well, there's no such thing as ascended masters. Everything is within you. All you have to do is close your eyes and imagine that your DNA is activated. There's no such thing as ascended masters. And somebody else will say, well, I'm speaking to one. You know, so all these people spiritually are waking up, and sometimes they're arguing with one another because they're all thinking that the other person's got it wrong and they've got it right. The thing is, these codes come to us individually. They process in accordance to the way we process, and we all process things individually. So many of us can do things in a similar way, but it is unique to us. There is no right, there is no wrong. Take, for example, the chakras. Somebody might say to you that the sacral chakra is orange. Oh, yes, it's dark orange, isn't it? Oh, no, it's pale orange. It's very important that it's pale orange. Actually, it's dark because I've seen it. And someone else might come in and say, actually, my, sacral chakra is bright purple. Oh, dear, well, you have got a problem. So I'm not saying that this is, as an example, you can choose. What comes to you is what's right for you. There is no right way to do this. There is no right way to experience these codes. These archetypes that come to you are presentations of the grid, the presentations of the Akashic records, presentations of source. Does that mean they don't exist? No, because they have their own consciousness, just like you. Are you a metaphor? Are we as humans metaphors? Yes, we are, just like everything else. What are we metaphors for? We're metaphors for source energy. There is only one energy, and everything outside of it is a metaphor. So the archetypes, or extraterrestrials, or angels, or whatever you're working with, will use a code or a series of keys to present to us in these different ways, in order to aid us in the translation of this pure divinity. One would call this the greater Akash, or the higher Akashic records. The Nine call this the higher stargates of hyperspace. It can be found in meditation. It can be found in out-of-body experiences. It can be found while we're awake as well. We don't have to go into meditation or go into an out-of-body experience. It's also known as the Hall of Records. This isn't to say that there isn't an actual code made up of letters and numbers, or rather geometric symbols within the DNA, because there is. There is an actual code as well as all this metaphor. I fully, as Magenta, don't understand this because we are not at the level yet of the processing of that, because the decoding of the metaphor is happening now, and it's the journey that's so important. So because I don't fully understand the actual geometric code within the DNA, if I were to go into a place where I need to know what this code means, then I would block myself from being able to find it. So I let it go. I let it come to me. I say to my DNA, code within. I would like to communicate with you. Let it come up in whatever way it will. This will all make sense to us. We are moving into full ascension. We are moving into full memory. But that cannot take place if you grasp onto or focus on the end game or the destination. Only by fully embracing the journey as the destination from exactly where you are now, knowing you are in the right place right now, only then can you move forward into discovering what all this is about.
Can you tell us when the code will be decoded on a grand scale? And is that related to true time at all?
Well, yes. To actually give a date about when that may happen is counterproductive and again against our free will. The nearest thing that we were given was the 21st of December 2012. That wasn't necessarily the date the code would be decoded on every level and that we would have full memory. On one level it was because we went through an energy spike on that day. And that energy spike took us to an out-of-time moment. So on the 21st of December, or around the 21st of December 2012, we were taken into a moment that was out of time. And it was like a split second to us. And we are now decoding what happened on that day. So a lot of people will say, well, nothing happened on the 21st of December 2012. And from that perspective, they're right. Nothing happened because it wasn't a happening. It was an energy shift. One could also perceive it as looking at the Earth, moving away from the center of the galaxy. It moves in cycles. It moves away from the center of the galaxy into a descent. So this is when the DNA strands go down and one loses full memory and goes into a reincarnational cycle. Then one switches and comes back towards the light, or rather back to the center of the galaxy, into an ascent where the DNA strands reform back up. And the 21st of December 2012 was the point where the Earth was as far away as it could get from the center of the galaxy so that it could turn around and come back again. That whole thing's a metaphor that I've just explained. It's completely metaphoric. There are cosmic alignments, but I'm not speaking literally when I say that the Earth is flipping round in this way. It is a metaphor, although there is a literal counterpart to it as well. And I know that that is confusing, but it will all make sense. So looking at when the code is to be decoded, to actually give us a date within our actual calendar is not really relevant or even possible because the energy is changing so much and we are now in true time. Linear time is illusory. It isn't real. We think it is, but it isn't. The true time is past, present, and future is one. It's non-linear. However, that is not to say that one should embrace linear time as a total illusion. If you do that, you could lose your focus and lose your anchor. So you need to fully embrace linear time while you're here in this physical body, because that will give you the anchor to be able to experience multidimensional time. Multidimensional time is past, present, and future as one, so it can flip. You can have something come up from the past and the future all in one day, and it can experience where you are now. You can change your past, change your future, and go sideways, forwards, and around, because that's true time. So
we'll have you back. That could be a whole other show. If you're willing to come back, we can do that as a topic.
Yes, I'd love to come back.
I wanted to ask you a couple more questions. I wanted to get these in before we end. You talk a lot about metaphors. So could you perhaps, I'll give you an example. Probably, I think it was 2 weeks ago, someone almost ran me off the road, literally. And so I was posting about that, and actually, Lisa had said to me, oh, I think that was a metaphor for people trying to push you off on your path and to continue on what you are meant to do. So can you talk about metaphors in people's lives, and maybe perhaps that's something they should start paying more attention to?
Absolutely. Metaphors come in not just as archetypes and as picture, but as experiences. What happened to you, if that's happening to someone else, it's very good that you took advice as to what that metaphor could mean, but it's always important to take that on board as a possibility, because the ultimate person to decode that metaphor is you. not someone else. Great to have other people that can, dream interpreters and psychics and intuitives. They are there as assistants and as partners, but not to give you the answer. If it feels right to you that people are trying to push you off your path and that's what happened on the road, if you're resonating with this, then this is a correct metaphor for you. But if you're not, then it might be only part of it. So really, in our linear reality, our life is expressed in layers of metaphor. As I've said, we are metaphors ourselves for the Creator. All that is true is the oneness. Anything outside of that oneness is a metaphor for the oneness. However, we can utilize metaphor in order to communicate with that junk DNA. I don't like using the word junk. To communicate with the subconscious aspect that's within that expanded quantum aspect of our DNA. That is how it communicates, because we're communicating with it and it's communicating back to us. It's teaching us as we're teaching it. So if we are metaphors for source, then does that not mean so are archetypes, angels, ETs, ascended masters, are they metaphors for source as well? Yes. So that's one way of looking at it. But the other way is what you said. The car breaks down. What could that be a metaphor for? Your arm hurts. What could that be a metaphor for? You can actually, I mean, the best way to do this is to work with it yourself and create them. For example, you're going to put on a film. Let's say it's Superman and you haven't seen it. And you think, right, this is what I would like to learn when I watch Superman. I would like a metaphor for this situation in my life, my relationship, my cat, my money. Thank you very much. Usually it's good to perhaps just do one per film when you're starting. And if you know that you are going to get the metaphoric response to your question and you feel the alignment, it's like a buzz inside, a tingling, think, yep, it's done, it's there. You will get the metaphor in the film or the book or whatever it is that you're going into. So it's not about metaphors happening to you. It's about you blending with them and working with them and creating your own reality. When metaphor reaches the 3D literal mind, that can often be a problem because it's then taken literally. And this has been the problem. Like, for example, let's take Christianity as an example. We have the Bible. The Bible is a truthful book of beautiful metaphor that was drawn down from divinity. But it's been taken literally and it's been interpreted in so many different ways. You've got all these different religions that offshoot from it. And then they start to argue because they think that it means one thing and someone else thinks it means something else. This is what's being decoded now by those that understand. They are in the process of decoding the metaphor because on another level there is ancient metaphor and it's been put here for a reason. These are the clues. So the Bible is one of them. Pulling the sword from the stone and all the King Arthur and Merlin and then the Knights of the Round Table, the Cathars and the Knights Templar, all of the ancient Christianity and the Essenes, all of these, it's coming back. Atlantis, Lemuria, the rising of Atlantis is here now. Atlantis is rising again just as predicted. It's a consciousness and it's happening right now. Avalon, which is the world, though Avalon means village of apples, apple from the tree, you take the apple, you then find knowledge. Avalon is a world of apples, those that have eaten from the apple. Avalon is those who have knowledge, who are raising. So we are here to decode the metaphor, but what we need to do is be careful because we don't want to take the activation away from people because they need to come to the realization themselves. So we need to decode the metaphor and deliver it perhaps in a more literal metaphor. So the whole thing comes down in a sort of nice, smooth line, which is the intention anyway.
Oh, that's amazing. What's the significance of synchronicity?
Ah, right. Yes, wonderful. Synchronicity lets you know that you are in the fifth dimension and that you are experiencing non-linear true time. This is your marker point. You are in a process of inner alchemy. You are communicating with the subconscious mind. You are moving into becoming a genius. Synchronicity is true time because past, present, and future become one. Your future self can communicate with you. Synchronicity is how the future self communicates with you, or the expanded self, or the higher self. So If you're experiencing synchronicity, you are flipping into true time, because it's a spiral, it's a cycle, it's a circle, it is not a linear line. If you take an arrow and a bow and arrow and you shoot an arrow, that's linear time and it's all in one line. When you're on that, there isn't any synchronicity, because synchronicity comes from before and after, because it's a circle. There is no arrow going in a straight line. It's only a circle. It's only a spiral. So when synchronicity occurs, and of course it's always there, there's always synchronicity around us all the time. This is the higher energy giving you your clues. But often we dismiss it as a meaningless coincidence. Isn't that weird that just happened and then we just forget? Those who take note, the minute they're aware, it will start happening more and more. And they've begun the journey. And at the end of the day, that is the ultimate expression of this. Are you on the journey or are you not? There is no destination. There is no one who's ahead of you. You are either stuck and not on the journey, or you are awake and you are. One or the other. And the minute that you are, you take your place within that circle. Nobody's above, nobody's forward, nobody's back, because the journey is what's important, and it will be magical for you wherever it is.
Wow, that's just, I feel like you just activated about 1,000 things. Have learned so much. I can't even respond, because I'm kind of like a sponge right now, absorbing it all. But there are a couple questions I'd like to ask each guest. The first one is, what would you say to someone who's struggling right now? You know, maybe they're just not awake at all, or because they're going through a divorce, they've lost their job, they're just in a really tough place. What would you say to them?
Well, firstly, I would say accept where you are, because as I said, there is no place that's further on than anyone else, and we all go through these. These challenges and these situations are part of this journey, and they're here to teach us. Nothing has to be endured forever in a place of suffering or pain. There's always a way out. However, you can be locked into linear time, and it can really feel like it's a never-ending suffering. And often, sometimes spiritual advice can be meaningless. I mean, you know, you could say embrace love and light and just believe and you'll be just fine. Well, that sounds very wishy-washy to some people. Sometimes it can seem condescending, because the person might think, how can you sit there and talk about love and light? You don't know what I'm going through. So this is a place that is necessary, because it takes us out of it. But just like taking the horse to water but not making it drink, we have to take that first sip. The minute we do, energies will come in and help us. The minute we feel that something's working for us, call it synchronicity, call it higher guidance, call it just purely good luck. The minute we feel it's there, we have an activation, because we think, wow, that was good. It's a more positive emotion. And that's what it's all about, taking the emotions up the scale of positivity, from suffering and pain and stress and worry, into the sort of neutral place is embracing and, you know, accepting, and then up into joy, bliss, excitement, love. So what I would say to anyone who's struggling with spirituality, health, suffering with situations that they feel is beyond their control, and it does happen to all of us, no matter how enlightened we are, these situations come in, but it's how we deal with them and how we allow them to make us feel. And we're all in varying degrees of mastery, and rarely are any of us able to 24/7 sail through all these challenges with bliss. Sometimes we go down the frequencies and we don't react the way that we've been taught to, or the way that we think we should. We're all learning. We're all students of this thing called life. So to those people, I would say, put out that plea, put out that thought for assistance, that asking, or as I said, if you don't want to ask anything and you don't believe that you're asking anything, just have the thought, the wish. Just make a wish, you know, like a child, with a pure heart, genuinely wanting to take responsibility for your life, for your environment, for the experiences that you have, for the health of your mind and your body, rather than delegating these experiences, this responsibility to someone else. So frustration and anger will be blocks. So do whatever it takes to make this asking without the frustration. Even if you're feeling really frustrated and really angry, find a space where you let it go, even if it's for one moment, and say, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm going to ask, or I'm going to put out the thought, I need to get through this situation. Please, can you show me how, or help me, or guide me? I guarantee that help will come, and it's not as if you're asking a light being or an angel and they're going to come to your call. Yes, it is that. That is actually truth. But if you want to look at it in a more scientific way, it is the law of this universe. Like attracts like. If you put out a vibration through emotion or thought, then the matching reality must come into your experience. But it must be a vibration within the whole body, not just a visualization or an imagination. It's the whole body. So you get the emotion in sync with what you're asking for. For example, if you're in a situation where you're going through a terrible divorce, and all you really want to do is feel happy and settled and that everything is going to be okay, find the emotion first as you ask. Just pretend it's okay. Pretend you feel happy. Be an actress. Be an actor. Make the plea in that moment. The matching reality must come your way. The longer you can spend in the matching emotion and the matching thought, the quicker this matching frequency will come. It may come in many forms, so be open to recognizing it, for it might not come in the way that you envisaged that it will. Find trust that you can put this thought, this emotion, this asking and this plea out. Trust it will be answered, it will be responded to. And you don't have to think of it as spiritual or mystical if that doesn't help you. Think of it as scientific. Think of yourself as a magnet. It's a biological process. You are part of your environment. Your body is part of the environment. You're not separate from it. So.
I always like to have people take action, and you've given us an amazing hour. I can't wait to re-listen to this interview. But what one step could people take right after this, at night, in the morning, to reawaken their brilliance? Just one action item.
Just one action. Okay. Wow. Whatever it takes, really, that makes you feel bliss. Light a candle. Sit in your garden next to flowers. I mean, it will be different for everyone, but one that is universal is, what do you love the most? Who do you love the most? Do you have a cat, a dog, a hamster? You know, go and sit with it. Tell it how much you love it. Whatever it takes to feel bliss. Lighting a candle is beautiful. Buy a crystal. Hold the crystal in your hand. You could use nutrition. Go and eat something really, really healthy that you know is good for you. Do whatever it takes to feel bliss for you, because bliss is a scientific reaction within. The Nine call it bliss-charged love, and it's a charge. It's an electrical charge, and that is what triggers the DNA to shift from this carbon-based molecule into this crystalline-based molecule, which is a whole other discussion. So bliss as much as you can.
We've got sound effects here in the studio.
Yes. Wow.
Now, Magenta, I'm going to recommend your YouTube channel because you have got a lot of videos. But if people want to get in touch with you, can you tell us your website? And do you have any workshop or classes, or you work with people? What would you like our viewers and listeners to know?
Okay, my website is magentapixie.com. I do have upcoming events, but they're all in the planning stages. Nothing is definite yet. Would love to write a book. Haven't had time to write one I haven't got round to writing one because I write something and then I just want it up immediately and it goes into a video. I tried to write a book last year. I kept it for a while and then I just thought, no, it has to go out. So I haven't been able to retain. I want to deliver the messages quickly. So nothing other, my videos, really, that's where I work predominantly, but I do have other projects in the planning stages, nothing definite.
So if they go to Magenta Pixie when that's up, they'll be able to find it.
Oh yes, my website will always have the latest things that I'm doing, so magentapixie.com, yes.
And check her out on YouTube. If you just go to YouTube and do search Magenta Pixie, or if you're on Reawaken Your Brilliance, my channel, I'm a follower of her, so you can click right. She's right there at the top. I want to thank you. I'd love to have you on again. This is just taken me to a whole new level. I'm so excited. This has just made my entire day, week, month, year. So I'm super excited.
Wow. Thank you so much for asking me. It's been lovely.
And we'll definitely have you on again. And I want to remind everyone, we did record this, so when you see it live and aired during our regular hours, I will be on my honeymoon. But I want to remind you to check out our events page, because we will have a Thrive event, a Reawaken You event, which will be on Tuesday, October 29th. We'll have more information by the time this actually airs. And again, I want to thank Magenta Pixie for being such a trooper and coming in an interview, and we'll see everyone here next week. All right, bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Everyone, I'm excited to announce the next Reawaken You series. It's going to be on Tuesday, October 29th on conscious parenting. You know, we can trace it all back to childhood. What we do as parents really sets how our children respond and react to life. How are yours responding? How do you want them to respond? We've got an awesome panel of conscious parents who are going to teach you and give you the tools to help you have kids that are happy and healthy and leading a wonderful life. You can check out more information at reawakenyourbrilliance.com or on Eventbrite, consciousparent.com, and with the code PARENT you can save $5. We hope to see you there, because the more conscious we raise our children, the more conscious our planet, and the better our lives will be. See you soon. Bye now.